Now, a special needs trust can be established for a member of your family that's disabled, and they're receiving benefits, but you don't want to jeopardize their right to receive benefits. That's where a special kind of trust called the special needs trust can be put into effect and help them throughout their lifetime. Over the years, I've established several of these special needs trusts for disabled members of families. And I find that there's always a concern by the parents that after they're gone, they won't be around to provide any kind of inheritance or benefits of the child. And in fact, if the child does inherit, it could very well cut off their access to benefits that they are currently entitled to. So the preparation of a special needs trust is critically important, and it should be established in such a fashion that it continues on for the life of that disabled member of your family. Typically, the special needs trust is put into place by grantors who are either the parents of the child or the guardians of that child, whether that child is a minor or an adult. And the idea is to provide for quality of life items that are not covered by any government benefits that that child might be receiving through Social Security disability benefits or through any state benefits. Now, let's talk for just a moment about who the players are in a special needs trust. Typically, it's going to be set up by parents or guardians, and we call them in the law the grantors, the people who establish the trust. They work with a trustee, which might very well be a sibling of the disabled person or an aunt or uncle or someone else that's trustworthy who can administer the trust for the benefit of that disabled person. The person for whom the trust is set up is known as the beneficiary. That is typically the disabled member of your family who's going to need help throughout their life. And that help is going to extend probably beyond the life expectancy of the parents or guardians who established the trust. Now, how is the special needs trust funded? Well, over the years, I've seen a variety of ways for it to be done. I've had some clients who have me establish a special needs trust where it's funded with an investment policy, maybe a brokerage account or a mutual fund, something like that. But more often than not, what I'm seeing lately is a trend towards the use of life insurance as a way to fund the special needs trust at the death of the parents. And there's typically different kinds of policies that can be used to fund the special needs trust. What I'm seeing in the last few years is that clients who form a special needs trust for their disabled member of their family will use life insurance. If it's a single parent, they might have one of their policies on them payable to the special needs trust. They would try to provide for that child during their lifetime. But in the event the parent dies, then that policy could pay off to the special needs trust. The other type of coverage that I see going into the special needs trust is known as a survivorship or second to die policy. Now, most often these are used by parents or guardians of the disabled person, and they pay off at the second person's death. So let's say you've got mom and dad as the guardians of the child for now, and they form a second to die policy, it would pay off not at the first spouse's death, but at the second spouse's death, so as to maximize the coverage and maximize the length of time for which that qualified person could be covered. Now, regardless of how it is funded, whether it's with investment accounts, mutual funds, real estate, or life insurance, or any other type of funding, the object of the Special Needs Trust is to provide for quality of life items for the benefit of that disabled beneficiary. And the best place to start is to look at what exactly the state will pay for. You look at the state benefit, and let's say it's a minimal amount for housing and for food, utilities, that kind of thing. And maybe there's a supplemental health benefit with respect to medical coverage for hospitalization, medical costs such as doctor visits, and so forth. Okay, so we start there. The Special Needs Trust would provide for anything other than what the state provides. So if the state is providing for health insurance, food, a place to live, and so forth, the Special Needs Trust could supplement and cover those things not paid for by the state without disrupting the benefits that are coming. So, for example, there might be a variety of kinds of things that would fit into the quality of life. Now, with that said, what are some of the things that could be covered under the Special Needs Trust? Well, there's really quite a variety of those things that are not covered by the state benefits. For example, you might need specially equipped automotive vehicles, such as a van, to transport the disabled person. There might be need for a ramp in the home, or for doors to be widened, or for a bathroom to be modified, shower stalls and so forth, to make it easier for that disabled person to live there. And these items might not be covered by the state, and if they are not, they can be provided for under the Special Needs Trust. We've seen examples where, say, autistic children can benefit from interaction with animals or with interaction with art. So, for example, the Special Needs Trust could provide art lessons, horseback riding lessons, special travel like summer camps and those kinds of things. Anything that would qualify as a quality of life item for that disabled person can typically fit within the Special Needs Trust. In this segment, I've tried to cover a fairly wide view of the Special Needs Trust, how it is set up, how it's operated, and what it can be used for. We've set up a number of these for clients over the years who had disabled members of their family, and we always take it as a special honor to be able to do that. If you've got questions on how the Special Needs Trust works, I hope you'll get in touch with me. My name is Michael Potter, and I look forward to hearing from you.